Hi, this is Mayan, and we're gonna discuss the use of PowerPoint presentation as educational technology. We're now on lesson 7 of educational technology. What is a PowerPoint? It is regarded as the most useful, accessible way to create and present visual aids. This is the most common visual aid material that the teachers or presenters are using. It encourages and supports teaching learning process by facilitating the material presentation. It helps enhance the learning and retention of the students. What is a PowerPoint? Again, it is PowerPoint can perform a variety of functions such as text editing, slide note, printing, animating, and others. A PowerPoint is a widely used presentation program that originated in the world of business that has now become commonplace in the world of educational technology. Initially, PowerPoint application uh, is being used by the business presenters, sales presenters, by presenting their brands, products. But now it has now become commonplace in the world of educational technology. These are the reasons to use a PowerPoint presentation. Producing better visual effects and deeper impression. Speeding up the information transfer. Appropriate use of PowerPoint can enhance the teaching and learning experience for both staff and students, because it may include other multimedia, graphics, videos that may help boost the interest of the students in learning. It provides encouragement and support to staff by facilitating the structuring of a presentation in a professional manner. By careful mixing of media, a presentation can appeal to a number of different learning styles and be made more stimulating. It can touch all the types of learners through the use of media. Example of media is a video tutorial that can be inserted, can be included in a PowerPoint presentation. The electronic file format allows distribution and modification for by sharing and able to be present or who have impaired visual or auditory difficulties. Editing or each PowerPoint file is very easy with minimal associating reprinting cost because of the format or the template that it has. The printing of handouts in a variety of formats is facilitated with a number of embedded options to print either the slides themselves or the text from the slides. You can easily format the file when you are going to print it. You can choose either to print the slides themselves or only the text from the slides. Extra information can be hidden within files for answering predicted questions or for providing feedback to students using the file in a distance learning context. The portability of the files, especially in a compact discs, CDs, with their large capacity, allows presentations to be given wherever the technology is available or distributed where appropriate. So this is very ideal also for distance learning. The use of PowerPoint presentation as educational technology. Okay, here are the common barriers in using PowerPoint presentations. Some are being reluctant to invest the time required to convert materials to an appropriate PowerPoint format. Some are just preferred to not use PowerPoint because it will take them time to convert the materials or convert the presentation in an appropriate PowerPoint format. Simply by using PowerPoint as an alternative way to provide text-based notes. And they are not exploring the other features or functions of the PowerPoint. And they're just using PowerPoint as an only alternative way for providing text-based notes. There are risk factors associated with using this type of technology. The equipment failure. Sometimes when you're presenting, the application itself is hanging. File corruption is also possible. Incompatible media. Sometimes when you are already presenting, the media that have inserted in your PowerPoint is not playing because of its incompatibility. Okay, here's the pedagogical issues or how to use a PowerPoint. Presentations can become gimmicky, overloaded with materials and effects. Encourages students to be passive during lectures. Lessons may be delivered too quickly. These are some downsides of using a PowerPoint when not used properly. And of course, overloaded, being crowded, and too much using of effects is not also good in creating a PowerPoint presentation. Linear structuring, typical of many lectures, can be made more flexible by using hyperlinking options both within and out with the PowerPoint presentation, and by using the methods for jumping to particular slides that are not part of the linear sequence. Using this feature of the PowerPoint may modify your structuring of the lecture. Nonlinear use of PowerPoint, however, is mainly a pedagogical issue that PowerPoint can be adapted to provide. You can link some visual media also in the PowerPoint presentation. You can also link to another slide that has an illustration or graphics for your students to be able to interpret data. Diverse ways for nonlinear use of PowerPoint. Delivering automated instructional protocols in laboratory sessions. gathering the outcomes of discussions and polls during class activities, providing tests and options for consideration during class sessions, question and answer sessions, interacting with websites and information, provision of self-study sessions with feedback after the class activity, requiring student presentations or group or individual, building complex visuals with or without animation. And these are the ways for nonlinear use of PowerPoint. Through these ways, when you are teaching, you are when you are teaching your students, you are not just teaching them solely by just watching you present the slide or the PowerPoint that you have created. You're actually giving them another or other activities so that they can learn more. You can give extended activities outside the classroom for in order to enhance their learning. Creating a successful presentation. You need to plan your presentation structure carefully and according to the general rules of the presentation. You need to choose your formatting styles, the font styles or font type, and other structuring carefully. Know the level at which the presentation is aimed and develop the content for this level. The flow of the presentation is also depending on the objectives that you want your class to achieve. You can include media as you want to, or if needed or appropriate, you can use graphics, illustrations, or others. You can link it to websites or more, or you can just simply provide visual aid through the slides like this one. Do not present too much textual material on each slide and avoid simply reading out what is on the slide. Make sure that you speak at a normal pace and do not allow the use of PowerPoint to deliver material too quickly, because there is a tendency that you might deliver material too quickly when you are using PowerPoint presentation, and the learners can become also passive. Utilize the visual and other media opportunities offered to enhance your presentation whenever possible, but be careful to avoid excessive use of color effects, transition effects, sound effects, etc. You have to consider that less is more. Simplicity is also important. And try to avoid having more than 6 slides of text per slide and make them primarily headings or subheadings, because it can also be difficult to read by the students. You can include photos also beside the text in the slides rather than just solely text. Consider how you would make the diagrams available to the students, but be aware of copyright limitations on non-original material. Try to avoid using red and green combinations for emphasis. The most common of color blindness prevents separation of reds and greens. Be also conscious with the color or of the font that you will be using, because there are some learners that have some problems or health problems that may find it difficult to comprehend the lesson or the material. Consider introducing lines of text one at a time. Dimming the previous line is introduced. This facilitates concentration on the current items. You can use animation for you to do this. Standardize on a form of animated text entry that is straightforward. Use the sans serif font such as Arial rather than sans serif font such as Times New Roman. Do not use more than 2 text colors in a presentation unless there are particular reasons for doing so. If you would like to emphasize an object or a word, you can do it. You can change the color. Consider whether to use a dark light background for the presentation. Bear in mind that students with dyslexia often find high contrast between text background very difficult to read. Always analyze first your learners before you create a PowerPoint presentation. And here's the problem with the context. Use appropriate design templates whenever possible and adopt their predetermined formats unless there is a good reason to vary them. Alternatively, create your own templates, but use the design templates as a model. So you can you can use the featured templates or the PowerPoint presentation, but you can also customize it. You can create a template as a model, and you can modify it depending on the theme or topic or content you want to present. Utilize the options for headers and footers to include at least the name of the presenter, course designation, and the slide number on each slide to provide easy navigation by students within their own notes. This is uh, very applicable when you are going to print the presentation for as a guide for the students. Standardize the position of elements, colors used, and font styles within a presentation. Include only necessary information. Use headings and subheadings mainly to provide clear structure wheels, leaving note-taking tasks to ensure students are active during the session. Restrict number of key topics to no more than 5 per 50-minute presentation. Be consistent and minimalist with effects, transitions, and animation. Do not use too many slides, and you can put extra ones in providing they are mainly illustrative in nature. And with this, you can also help your students to interpret some data by providing illustration instead of additional slides for the text. Provide a good contextual material during the introduction and make sure that you have to conclude the session appropriately. Generally, use no more than 6 lines on a slide, excluding heading, and avoid long sentences. Use a font size that is appropriate and clear. You can avoid using cursive font type because it is difficult also to read. Use graphics where appropriate, but not overuse them. Excess use of the features like effects, music, colors, or sounds are not good and in presenting through PowerPoint presentation. Clip art, web images, and diagrams. Use sound and video from within PowerPoint very sparingly. Always remember the requirements of the accessibility to disabled students. One of the benefits of using PowerPoint is that the files can be used as a resource that is easily adopted by disabled students. Always consider that your students have different needs or learning needs, and some of them maybe are disabled students. It is the most common abuse in PowerPoint, okay, including excessive detail. Slides are visually poor and are boring over the top. Too much text is put in a slide. Excessive use of graphics. Irritating noises and slide transitions. Content often unmodified for an earlier non-PowerPoint presentation. Tendency to go too fast is common. Not making plans for copying in an event of technological failure. Thank you for listening, and we've just discussed the use of PowerPoint as educational technology, and I hope you learned something from the lesson. Thank you.